Hey Dee, do you like my t-shirt?
You have to show it to me. Oh, it's got a monarch butterfly on it, right?
Uh-huh. It says believe in yourself. And I actually bought it earlier this summer and I thought I'm going to send that to Dee for her birthday.
You're such a good friend. It
Yeah,
doesn't
because
look like you did.
no, I'm wearing it now. So I couldn't even fake it and say, hey, I got this t-shirt, you know. So anyway, it's the thought that counts.
You're hilarious. Let's get started.
Okay. Welcome to the Garden Angelist, where we chat about flowers, veggies, and all the best dirt. I'm Carol Michael from Indianapolis, Indiana, where I have a suburban garden measured in square feet. It's about a third of an acre.
And I'm Dean Ash from Guthrie, Oklahoma, where I still have a large garden out in the country. It's still about an acre.
We are Garden Angelists because we love gardening and we want you to love it too.
Yes, we do, but we aren't afraid to tell all of our gardening secrets, the good, the bad, and often the ugly. Let's move on to this week's episode. What's your garden look like, Carol?
Well, first of all, apologies to those who are listening, cannot see my beautiful green t-shirt with the monarch butterfly. This says believe in yourself. You'll just have to go to the YouTube video and watch the first 5 seconds.
Yeah, and you
So,
can see how bad my hair is, but you know what? I've been
well,
running around like crazy this morning.
this is W is for winging it on this episode. This is a rare
Yeah,
Saturday recording. So anyway, let's get on to my update. I do have fewer weeds. I did do quite a bit of weeding. Um, I
I
had
don't
my
have
honey,
fewer weeds.
huh?
I don't have fewer weeds. I have
I
so
do
many weeds. Why do you?
because I've been weeding.
Oh, it could be that. Okay. So you got
So,
your honey locust pruned. Tell me
yes, the
about
guys
that.
came. Yes, they came and they have to climb in it to get it pruned and get dead stuff out and just kind of give it a little pick me up every two
They
years.
they live for that. They love to climb
This
those
guy was
trees.
new to my garden and he was an excellent climber. I was very impressed. And then there
Hmm.
was another guy and he was the guy, doing the stuff from the ground. And I said, well, a couple years ago, and I said, I think it was you. They were trying to teach you how to climb and they had some extra time. So they had you climb. He says, I remember now, this was that yard. He says, I don't climb. So
Climbing's not for everyone.
no. Out in the
But
vegetable garden,
I'll
I'm
be
in,
honest, I love it when the tree people come out because it's fun to watch them work. All right, keep
yes.
going. Sorry.
That's okay. The vegetable garden is kind of like it's waning. It's not waxing, it's waning. And I went out there, see more W's, D, more W's, waxing and waning.
Look at
Uh,
what you're doing there.
the cucumbers are just about done. My tomatoes continue to be mildly disappointing, to put it mildly. I did mow the grass, and yesterday I went down to courtyard and greenhouse.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
cool. And you bought
Some smaller mums to put out front. I'm trying to get them to perennialize out front, but they haven't done well. What are you laughing about?
we don't do mums for another month or so.
Well,
It's
and
just
these,
weird. This time of year, our gardens are so out of kilter.
so they do, so this is their early crop. And this is for
Right.
people who really want to put them in the ground and have them return. And
Gotcha.
then they'll have another crop in about 3 weeks or so. Those will be showing a little bit more color. They'll have some that are fully in bloom for people who want to use them for decor. And then they'll have one last push. I think early October, they'll get one last push of moms, and then they are done for the season and they lock up and don't come back out for a while.
Hmm.
So, because Courtney from Courtyard and Greenhouse, well, I went down there because I saw on Instagram she was in Scotland.
Oh, wow. Good for
So,
her. I bet it's cold in Scotland.
yeah, she said it was warm to them, but it felt cool to her. But anyway, um, then I went to Menards and I didn't go for, I went for batteries and stuff, but I went out to the patio area and they had some of the
Big
cool,
mistake.
stop it. They had some cool wave pansies. Now Courtney's going to get hers in another week or so, but her supplier, because she doesn't try to grow them in this fall, um, with the heat and everything, they're not sure how the
Right.
grower ends up with pansies, but she said they weren't quite ready, so another week or so, and they will text me. But they had cool wave pansies at Menards in the little 6 packs,
Uh-huh.
and
I love
uh,
Cool Wave pansies.
my
Love, love,
involuntary
love.
reflex, I went and like, oh. it's in my hand. Oh, it's in my cart. Oh, it's on the front
It's
step,
not, yeah, it's in my
ready to be
car.
planted.
Yeah, I
So
know how that
anyway,
happens.
yeah. So anyway, and then Courtney, she's got all her perennials on sale, dirt cheap. Basically, just clear things out. She said it was a hot summer for those pots in the plants in pots. I bought one. I just bought a white phlox. But anyway, how about your garden?
So I've been bringing in bouquets of everything right now because it's just the garden is at August peak for all the
Uh-huh.
stuff that likes hot weather.
You can say
And
zinnias.
yeah, but there's other things too. Helenium has started, which is sneezeweed. The roses are back because I fed them. You should feed your roses one more time if you live in my part of the world. Even OSU says so now. So you could,
Nice.
my phlox is still blooming, but I do see a growth fritillary out there on an orange agave zinnia. Zinnia. Can I just
Uh-huh.
say zinnia?
You
I
can
know
say
it's
whatever you
zinnia,
want.
but I grew up saying zinnia. Now I just go back and forth all the time. I wish I hadn't done that. Anyway, that's what I've been doing is deadheading, cutting bouquets. Last night I spoke at the Oklahoma Organic Gardening Association. It may be gardeners. It's OOGA. They're the nicest people. And I also got a little garden job for fall. I went and interviewed for a job.
Oh my gosh. I heard this, Dee. You were texting me. Do you think we could record the podcast? Blah, 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 blah. If I get this job, I'm like, whatever you want to do, Dee.
So I feel a lot better. I'm on Zolair. I feel better. And I just am bored at home. And garden coaching slowed down for summer. Now, all my garden coaching clients are soon to be clients. I'm still garden coaching. I set my hours. So I get to set my hours whatever I want. So I set them on Thursday morning, Friday morning, and Saturday morning. And I'm working with the girls at Front Door Flowers. I'm going to help run their greenhouse and water their plants and wait on customers. So it's going to be fun.
Very nice. Very nice.
In the garden, I watering, fed the roses, fed the pots. I'm still trying to figure out a watering problem in the lowest border in the tiered garden. I've got a leak or something. So today, after we get done, I'm going to do that. So
Yes.
that's all. What are you going to do for favorites?
So my favorite this week, I was looking at the side and I'm like, what's my favorite? What's my favorite? Okay, it's going to be those salvias that I plant in the big pots on the back patio because the hummingbirds love them. And every morning when I open up the blinds, I usually see a hummingbird out there zipping around
Hmm.
amongst all those flowers. And I have the purple, the red, the pink, and the blue. I have all four colors out there. It's really
Do
nice.
you know what varieties they are by chance?
Well, I do know that the purple and the pink are the skyscraper series. The
Which are
red,
great.
I don't know. The blue, it's one of the proven winner ones. I don't know. But the red is just the big red one. Big red
Yeah,
one.
the great big beautiful red one that blooms so well in the fall.
We'll put a picture in the newsletter of the big,
We
beautiful
will.
red one,
Okay.
and I'll identify
Um,
it.
okay. I'm going to give a shout out to Suncoleus as a group.
Woohoo!
They are really bringing it to the garden right now, and I'll put in a little gallery of all of them. And the cool thing about a lot of the varieties is if you want to let them go and bloom, pollinators love them. If you want to chop them back and bushy, make them bushier, that's okay too. Some were bred to not bloom at all, but a lot of them bloom. I cut some off, I leave some. I do both.
Very nice.
Hummingbirds love them too, don't they? Just like yours.
Yes. Yes. And
Okay.
so I do think that people that are putting out these hummingbird feeders, that is a lot of work and maintenance. And just get you some salvias and different flowers that they would like. The Cepheus, they love
Yeah,
those.
false vervain.
They love
Um,
that.
they love that. They also love cannas, red cannas. So if you have cannas that bloom red, like Australia, or like Cleopatra, which has yellow and red blooms, you'll have them. I mean, they sip off of a lot of things. Did I say false vervain?
You did.
Okay, they love that plant. And there's just a lot of plants they love. I think hummingbird feeders are a pain because they get sugar ants in them. And they also cause the males all to fight around the feeder because they think it's theirs. Silly birds. And if you have honeybees anywhere nearby, this is the dearth time of the season. They'll swarm your feeder, and then you're going to get stung if you're not careful because, they're crazy this time of year. All right,
Speaking of,
speaking of things that sting, I'm going to ask the question and you're going to answer it. From Carol's sister. Hello, Carol's sister. I just noticed a large wasp nest in my lilac out front. Should I try spraying it with something? Or should I call someone to remove it? Go,
and I
Carol.
said,
Hell no.
wow, she sent a picture of it. And let me explain. So she's got this really nice border planting around her and her neighbor's mailbox because it's kind of like comes to a point between their driveways because they're on a cul-de-sac. And so this lilac's kind of right behind that mailbox. And she said, like a lot of lilacs right now, it dropped its leaves and then she looks and she sees this huge hornet's nest. She called it a wasp nest. And
No.
so
Well, I mean it is, but it's not.
now,
Yeah, it doesn't look like a like we when we think of a wasp nest, we think of the small
right. No,
paper
no,
wasp one.
no,
No, this is
no.
a great big huge
I said,
nest.
that's bald-faced hornets. I said, technically you can try to spray it yourself and take it down, but I said,
I would not.
I would not. So anyway, because it's near where her grandkids play and her husband's would react badly to the stings, they hired a guy who came out that afternoon and she said he sprayed it all down and kind of backed away quickly, sprayed it all down. And then when activity stopped around the nest, he took it out, took it off, cut it off the lilac, stuck it in a bucket, stuck it in his van, and he said, there'll be angry hornets around for a little bit, but they'll eventually go away because the queen is gone. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, scary little boogers. But
So
that's true of wasps and bees, the ones
yes.
that have communities, not the single nesting type. They
So
all have a queen, and if you get rid of the queen, the group cannot get its stuff together. So, insect of the week.
we're going to make it the bald-faced hornet because I looked up a bunch of information on it and I've got some information from Penn State and also from Iowa State, but basically,
Mhm.
the bald-faced hornet is an aerial yellow jacket.
No wonder they're mean.
One of 7 or 8 species in the genus Dolichovespula in North America. It's not a true hornet, it is a yellow jacket. They said the only hornet in North America is the European hornet, which is an accidentally introduced species.
Yeah, we got a bunch of those.
Yeah. So it has that big football shaped, and this one was huge, gray papery nest that's up in trees. And they said it's in all 48 contiguous United States and Canada and
So,
Alaska. And so, yeah,
I have a question. Okay,
yes,
so this, when you showed it to me, I thought it was the European hornet
no,
because the nests do look similar.
no,
But
it was
no,
not.
this was an aerial yellow jacket. And
Yes,
that one is native, right?
yes. And the thing is, and Penn State and Iowa State would both say this, it is a beneficial insect
Right.
because it eats and takes care of a lot of spiders and other little nasties.
And
But
caterpillars.
caterpillars. Um, but if the nest is really high up in the tree, they're probably not going to bother you. The problem
No.
with her nest was it's almost at eye level behind their mailbox. And so when they discovered it, they realized that this is a menace. And so that's a case where you would want to go ahead and remove it. And that's what
Right.
they did.
Yeah. So sometimes you do have to do that. I had some that, not those, but I had some red wasps that nested up in the eave of the front of my house. And
Also
I was
a
having,
candidate for removal.
right, I had 560 people coming over for that horticulture society tour. And these were really aggressive. And to get that one out of the roof up there, it was really hard. He had to spray and then he also had to go into that deal and then we had to plug it up. So it was quite the ordeal, but I didn't want people to get hurt. So
Well, and
that's what it comes down to.
I think they're German yellow jackets.
Yeah.
They had gotten up in the eaves by my front door, and the pesticide guy was here just doing a termite inspection, and he said, "Yeah," and he gave me this powder, and he said at night you go up there and just whoosh, whoosh, whoosh that powder in there. And
Uh-huh.
I did that, and they went after me, and I did get stung. And I'm like, thanks a lot, guy. But
Yeah, I
anyway,
think I would have had that. I mean, when it comes down to that, well, I'm also really allergic to stings. So,
yes, I'm not. But
okay. So,
that was our insect of the week, the bald-faced hornet.
fascinating.
Onward. I'm going to do a quote. Are we? And then we're going to talk about the flowers.
Okay.
Some things bloom only when the world isn't looking. In the dark, beneath a quiet sky, they open wide, fragile, unafraid, as if the night itself was made to hold them. Not every beautiful thing needs the light to be seen, and that is E.J. York.
And that's pretty cool because we're doing white flowers this week and wabi-sabi gardening both. But white flowers often bloom at night.
That's right.
There's a whole bunch of them. So go ahead. You want to start with wabi-sabi since you wrote that first?
Well, we were just going to do white flowers, and then I saw an article about wabi-sabi gardening, and
Yeah,
I thought, oh, you know what? I wrote a blog post about that eons ago, so I found that old blog post. But wabi sabi is just the Japanese term for a very relaxed garden where things are allowed to just sort of mature and be
that
themselves,
would
and
be mine.
you're not just, like I've spoken of a house around the corner which is not wabi sabi, and then like yours and I is very much wabi sabi. Kind of let things go naturally. If things flop, they flop. Blah blah blah. So we'll put a link to that if people want to hear about or read about wabi sabi gardening. But the white flowers,
Okay, white flowers, which we're going to start. You said, could you conceivably have a white flower for every month of the year? And I thought of two more as we were sitting here, which we can talk about in their particular month. So, January,
I came up with Helleborus niger, which is the Christmas rose.
sure.
You should have a few white blooms in January. Potter's wheel is the most common one that you'll find, and we talk about this in December, how we go looking for the Christmas rose in the store as a potted plant that you could put out there. Most often,
Yeah.
that potted plant is potter's wheel. But anyway, that's about all I could think of for January.
I
And
mean, unless you forced plants, yeah, I would say that's, or unless you find a white orchid, that's it. And you
indoors,
didn't
we
indoors.
you could do a lot indoors. I was thinking about outdoors.
Oh,
Helleborus niger.
sorry.
That's
I
okay.
always mess up your plans, don't I?
No, you don't. We're
I
winging
always
it.
float
We're
in
winging it.
here and mess you up.
Womp
Okay,
womp womp.
February. February. I cannot grow those. So you go ahead.
So snowdrops come out in February. That's galanthus, and like we've talked about, there's a whole cult of gardeners who come out and worship these little flowers in late winter and go on little
They're tiny.
expeditions to go find them. And they have little mirrors on the bottom of sticks where they can look up under the flower because they're always kind of going like this
Because
and
they
do
have to put their little faces down.
exactly. So um I would have that. What would you have in February? You
I would have hellebores and I would have the Nigers out there. And I have several varieties. And then I would also have the hybrids, which are the other type. They're the Lenten rose. And so that's about right because Lent often starts in February and they bloom. And so there are some hybrids now that are very, very light yellow. And so that is pretty much white.
No, no, it's not pretty much white. It's very, very light yellow.
Whatever. Keep going.
March. The only thing I could
There are
come up
white
with
ones too.
March was white crocuses, and there's the Crocus vernus, Joan d'Arc, Jean d'Arc. I don't know,
Jeanne d'Arc. It means
Jeanne
Joan of
d'Arc.
Arc.
Yeah,
I used to grow
and
that one.
then there's our Crocus chrysanthus Ard Schneck.
hmm
So, and
I
I'm
grew that
partial
one
to
too.
purple crocuses, but so you could get white crocuses and they would bloom in March. So you're
hmm
a fourth of the way through the year now.
hmm Well, and your hellebores are still blooming. And I did think of some that were white with purple dots. All right. So then we're going to move on to April and probably in Oklahoma, the end of March. And that would be white daffodils. And I have a whole post about white daffodils that I will go find.
Yes.
And I have a whole section of my garden that underneath my Japanese rose, which is, I'm not going to be able to think of the name of it right now, double flowering Japanese caria. So double flowering Japanese carrier, which is bright yellow and blooms right then, I put white daffodils in them. And then the fire came the next March and burned them all down. And I was like, okay, we'll try again.
That's right. But white daffodils, I saw that John
Love them.
Sheepers has a whole mix of white narcissus that you could plant, which would extend your bloom probably from early March or late March here through April, maybe into early May, but most of April. So
April, yeah.
if that's what your deal is, white narcissus daffodils.
Okay. May. May is all about peonies and roses.
Yes.
So you asked me what white rose? And I went, ugh, okay,
Ugh.
that's hard. And here's why, because there's a lot of things. So the famous white rose was John F. Kennedy and then
Mhm.
Iceberg. And I think they're both not that great. There's a new rose out that's called Reminiscent with scent in it. There's a whole series of that by proven winners. And there's a crema, and it's just almost white. And there's white Meadowland, and I haven't grown reminiscent crema, but I've grown white Meadowland and it was very solid. Um, John F. Kennedy's terrible old breeding. It was a hybrid tea and it just has trouble. And Iceberg has trouble. The other thing I don't like about white roses is they fade to brown and they often
Ah,
stay on the plant and it just doesn't look very good. Teresa Byington may weigh in and I'm okay with that. I wish she would. I'm going to guess that white is a recessive gene in roses. And so I think it makes them not so strong.
that
There you
that
go.
could be. That could be.
Peonies, though, you can do white peonies all day.
All
Isn't it
right.
Festiva
Yes.
Maxima that's white with pink,
Yeah.
little tiny bit of pink?
I think the white one I have is Shirley Temple.
Yeah, it's another good one too. There's just so many white ones now or pale pink, but
Yeah.
you can get pure white and they are beautiful.
They are very beautiful.
Okay,
The other thing white in my garden, and I just thought of this, is the oxeye daisies. They come up in May. They're
I
kind of
don't
a
have
weedy old
those.
thing.
Are those fleabane? Is that what oxeye daisies
No,
are?
no,
No.
no.
Well,
Fleabane.
fleabane's white too.
Yeah, it is. No, no. These are oxeye daisies. This is
I threw you. Sorry.
something vulgar. And
Hmm.
so it's like a weed, the same as fleabane. In fact, I pulled out tons of fleabane that was going to start blooming again, and I'm like, no, no, no. This is not a
Because it
British
spreads
garden
its,
where they really want fleabane, which is not native to them. It's like, no, this is a native weed, and it's not going to look very good. It could look pretty good.
They like the Mexican fleabane too, which is different. Here's the thing. I let it bloom a little bit in the early season, but then I always try to pull it out before it starts to set seed because
Yeah. Okay.
man, and I still have it all over my garden. So, okay, now we're going to move on to June, and I thought of several things for June that I'm going to say before. No, no, go ahead and do June first.
So you had mentioned some hydrangeas, which the paniculatas and the oak leaf ones definitely do come out in June. They're white, um, and fade to
Arborescens too.
arborescence. Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Yeah,
We'll get to some other hydrangeas later in the year, but um, and then you said your limelight starts in June. Mine doesn't really
late June.
start until late August or late July into August, so it's peak in August. So we'll
Yeah,
get to
mine's
that.
past its peak. It was peak in July. But Annabelle and Incredible, those are the arborescens type. They bloom earlier. So that's good to know. If you like white flowers, you don't have to just have limelight. You can have some other colors too. And in June, I don't know if they're there yet. No, I think this is all July.
Well, the other thing I came up with for June, because surprisingly, there's a big flush of bloom in May, and then a lot of the summer stuff doesn't really get going until July. So into May, into June can sort of be a downtime in the garden, which is
Hmm.
where like your container plants would be helpful, like white petunias in containers if you want wall white.
And you could do Bacopa too. Bacopa is white. A lot of people grow that. I mean, yeah, I'm not into, I mean, I do have some white, I actually have some white petunias in a container that have made it through the summer, believe it or not.
Yeah, they're not doing
Okay,
well here, by the way.
yeah. Okay, so July, before we talk about the two that we thought of, Um, I also thought of datura.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people grow that and moonflower because of your
Yes.
quote. So tall garden phlox starts to bloom. The two classic ones are David and Mount Fuji. I cannot grow David to save my life. You can grow it, right?
I have it growing. I think it's David that's still out there. And then the one I bought yesterday, I don't know what it is. It's a proven winners white tall phlox and it was in bloom and for $5 I'll throw it out there just to
Uh-huh.
kind of replenish the supply because they will self-sow a little bit around the garden or they should.
Yeah, they should. And
And
then I
then,
thought of, okay, go ahead.
well, and just for you, I did look up burpee because you don't think about zinnias as being white.
There's a bunch of them.
There are a bunch of them. They have one called White Wedding that looked very good.
Yeah, there's polar bear. I've never grown white wedding. I've grown polar bear. It's good too. And there's Benary's giant white, which all
Yes.
the Benary's giants are fabulous. Um, I thought of another plant. I thought of white pentas because
Yes.
pentas come in white. And I have one client that she plants all white pentas along the front. But then I thought of that other plant that I cannot think of right now, and it comes in white too. Also comes in white and yellow. If I think of it later, I'll let you guys know.
Well, and then we can't leave July without talking about the Shasta daisies. Becky's the best, and
Love
we
them.
talked about her a few weeks ago.
She's the best, hands down. They keep trying to come out with others. I've tried them. I mean, if somebody wants to send me a plant to trial again, I've tried so many. We'll see. So there you go.
On to
August.
August, yes. So I came up with Nicotiana, which is flowering tobacco.
Yeah, mine starts in late July and goes all the way through August. I love, love, love Only the Lonely. It's not it's a great one.
I
Smells
love,
good.
love, love the wild one that just comes up around my vegetable garden because it's self-sowed all over.
So they look the same. They're the same pipe that comes down. It's just Only the Lonely's a little shorter.
Yeah. So then back to limelight hydrangeas, and both of these are rather carefree. You don't want to, if you're liking things nice and tight, these are not your plants. These are the wabi-sabi garden plants.
Definitely. Definitely. So September, you mentioned Japanese anemones. I've never grown them. I've never grown them. I don't see anybody here who grows them, but we have seen
Well,
them in gardens all over the United States. But I know that in some places they're considered almost invasive,
they
but
are.
people do love them.
Yes.
And
And I,
Honorine Jobert is the classic one that everyone grows.
right. And I saw there's a huge stand of them, or there was. I don't know. They redo the gardens all the time. Up at the art museum, there's a huge stand of them. And the thing that I noticed about them is that they look good coming or going. So looking at the flower from behind, because they're all kind of facing the same way, they look good, big white petals, and then from the front, they got a big yellow center. So I have a nice little stand of them, I'll call it. They're not, given much attention. I don't see them self-sowing all over. They are probably in more shade than they would like, but that is the story of my garden.
Sometimes mine too, especially as these trees get bigger and bigger. Um, I
Exactly.
I thought of the summer white lantana. There is a white one,
Oh, yes,
and
yes.
it's really good for summer when it's hot. So now we've moved on to October, which you brought up mums, and you can buy
Right.
mums at the store that are the rounded type. And there's a lot of white ones out there. And I personally like the ones that have almost the daisy looking bloom that are white.
Yeah, I can
Um,
see that, but I don't.
Terra, Terracotta and Guthrie really works on those mums, and so I usually buy from them because they have really good ones.
Yeah. So over at the greenhouse, they have a lot of the ball hort varieties,
Hmm.
and but I did look up that Proven Winners has a white one called Celestial White.
Yeah, I haven't grown it, so I don't know.
I do think if you want beyond the basic types, you're probably going to have to mail order because
Oh, yeah.
and goes to someplace like Select Seeds or someplace where they have more, maybe I'll call them heirloom varieties and stuff. And we're not talking about the heirloom varieties like our friend Matt Mattis grows, where he's growing those ones that are almost extinct, that were the big,
Display.
display ones, yes.
Uh-huh.
Or what Longwood Garden does with their big display mums.
Amazing.
We're talking about mums that you don't mind them just growing and kind of flopping around in the garden.
Yeah, I grow, and these aren't white, but I grow Sheffield pink. I grow Will's Wonderful. I have a big orange and yellow one that I can't think of the name of right now. Those were all ones I ordered online because they're considered true garden mums. And one of the confusions in Oklahoma is that almost all mums are hardy here. So you can just plant those rounded mums, but then yes, they'll flop. But they're not considered the heirloom true garden mums.
Right.
Not really.
Here I would say if you buy a mum now that's sitting out at the garden center, that mum could overwinter just fine. It needs to
Uh-huh.
get established. But if you go to the florist and you buy a potted mum that's already in flower, that one I wouldn't even try.
Okay, so we're back to November and December, and you said we're back to Helleborus niger, which is true because there isn't anything outside that can survive. And then you could also pot up some paper whites if you don't mind the smell. There are some that don't stink as bad. And then a white amaryllis, which is one of my favorite things to pot up is a white one. And right now, Amaryllis and Caladiums.com, that group, they're doing a sale where you can get free shipping on Amaryllis bulbs through the end of August. So
No.
you that's
Well,
that's not an affiliate. I just noticed it in my emails yesterday.
well, I'm looking at the calendar. This episode is going to come out on what is going to come out on August the, I think the
Did we
20,
not write it at the top?
no.
It'll have
Yes, we
we'll
did,
have
but I didn't put cursor up there. It's going to come out on August the 27th, so they would still have 3 or 4 days to take advantage of that free shipping.
that's okay. Maybe they'll do it. Maybe they won't.
All
All right,
right.
you want me to do the next quote?
We have not exhausted white flowers, but we have exhausted
No.
ourselves. Onward.
Yeah, we have. Nature's first green is gold, her hardest hue to hold. Her early leaf's a flower, but only so an hour. Then leaf subsides to leaf, so Eden sank to grief. So dawn goes down to day, nothing gold can stay. That's Robert Frost.
I had never heard that before.
I hadn't either. Vegetables. Oh, I haven't filled this part out, so I really will be winging it. All right, why we don't grow X.
And so, yeah, W is why we don't. And I just put that in. We're actually going to talk about some W crops, but I think you and we both shy away from crops that are prone to a lot of bug pressure that we know they're going to get eaten up by cabbage
Yeah,
moth caterpillars, or, I will grow summer squash until the squash bugs take it out.
yeah.
So
I mean, I'll grow some cabbagey crops in the fall, and so they don't because they don't have as much bug pressure because all of them are kind of adults now. And yeah, I don't really. I mean, bugs irritate me.
they do. But anyway, let's go on to some W crops. So winter squash. Neither one of us grow winter squash. This was a
Mm-mm.
staple probably for our ancestors to have butternut squash, even pumpkins is a winter squash, acorn squash, to have those, to store those, to eat those all winter.
I mean, I still want to try honey nut, but the squash bugs are such a problem here that I just haven't tried it. Honey nut's the little bitty one. So here's the deal. I don't live where there's no grocery store. I live out in the country, but it's not so
Exactly.
country anymore. And they sell those little honey nut squashes at natural grocers, and they have bunches of them. And I just go in there and I buy us one, and it's just perfectly sized for Bill and me, and I eat it.
I my favorite winter squash is spaghetti squash.
I love it too.
And
So good.
so, but I have attempted to grow it, and the vine dies about the time that I think it's going to have to be ready to pick because that vine is done.
Yeah. And oh, delicata squash. I love delicata squash, and it's also a winter squash too. And guess who has bunches of it? Natural grocer.
There
So
you
I
go.
just run in there and buy it, and then I slice it up and I put it on a tray with a bunch of other vegetables and some chicken. Yum.
Yum. So, and I mentioned pumpkins. Pumpkins are technically a winter squash, and for whatever reason, I have a pumpkin vine. Burpee sent it to me to grow. It's called Patch for Kids Pumpkin because it produces 5 to 8 pound pumpkins, so it's a good size for kids. And
Mm.
so far, it's doing pretty well. And the pumpkins kind of start out green, and they're starting to turn. So I'm hopeful. And if I have some, I will take them down to my nephew and his wife and say, "Hey, here's some pumpkins for your kids." Or my older
Cool.
sister, depending on how many. I got to go count how many. I know there's two out there. It'd be better if there
Very
were
cool.
five, but we'll take what we can get.
Just take what you can get.
And lastly, on the W's is watermelon. Dee, why aren't you growing watermelon? You have a long
Because
enough season.
I can't grow watermelon. I'm lousy at it.
Same
I
thing with
just am.
the bugs, the bug. But
It's
if I
not just the bugs. I have never figured out the right combination for soil to grow watermelon. And here's the deal. I don't like watermelon. It
oh,
has
I
always
like
made
it.
me kind of sick. I mean, I've never
Ah,
been able to digest it properly. And so, why would I buy it? I mean, growing up as a kid, my family loved watermelon. And so they would get it every summer, and I'd eat my piece and I'd feel lousy for the rest of the day. And I don't need to grow that.
oh. Well, I was going to say if someone wants to grow watermelon, All America Selections has several winners.
Yep.
So, and then if we dug a little deeper, and this is a rabbit hole I didn't go down, there's a lot of controversy over the fact that they have done a ton of breeding to get the seeds out of the watermelon,
Yes. And some people don't like that. And some people swear that the seedless watermelons don't taste as good as ones with seeds.
which could be. So,
Oklahoma has a huge watermelon festival, by the way. It's called Rush Springs Watermelon Festival. And yes, I took my kids to it once and it was fun. And lots of watermelon. They grow
yeah,
them good down there.
yeah. Anyway, that is all we're gonna do for W in the vegetable patch. So
Aren't you going to mention the famous watermelons from Indiana? Don't you
there
have
aren't
some
famous
famous ones?
watermelons. You're thinking about cantaloupes.
Oh, okay. Whatever. Melons. All right, moving on.
I'm gonna do a quote and we're gonna go to the bookshelf. Outside, the leaves on the trees constricted slightly. They were the deep, dun green of the beginning of autumn. It was a Sunday in September. There would only be four. The clouds were high, and the swallows would be here for another month or so before they left for the south, before they returned again next summer. And that is Allie Smith, The Whole Story and Other Stories. Never heard of
And
it.
why we didn't use that for September, I don't know.
Well, you put the quotes in, D.
I know, I know. Why didn't I do that?
I
So,
don't know.
on
On the
our
bookshelf.
bookshelf, I don't have the book.
It is How Can I
Um,
Help Saving Nature with Your Yard by Doug Tallamy. And the subtitle is or the little button up there, 499 questions and answers to help you take the next steps. Indeed, I have a library copy. We could have got review copies, but we decided to get it from the library. It
mhm.
literally is 499 questions, and they're kind of categorized by um, let me tell you what the categories are over here in the table of contents. So he's got questions related to ecology and evolution, biodiversity, native and non-native plants, oaks. These are big on the oaks. Invasive
Yes, he
species,
is.
pest control, conservation and restoration, home landscapes, supporting wildlife at home, and concluding questions. And I have enjoyed dipping in and out of this. And it is very interesting because, I'm just going to turn it random. Like, here's one on what is the best time to control invasive plants? And he says if you're using mechanical control, the best time is yesterday.
Yeah, no
Uh,
kidding.
and then if you're using herbicides, and he doesn't mind suggesting that you use herbicides to get rid of some of the invasives. He
Uh-huh.
said early fall is the best time, which is true because the energy is going down to the roots. So you send that pesticide down there and it starts to kill the roots. Um,
That
and
herbicide.
yeah,
You
herbicide.
said pet. Mhm.
I
You
meant
said
herbicide.
pesticide.
I
I
meant
knew you did.
herbicide. Yeah. Yeah. And he says if you're using an oil-based herbicide, you can use that throughout winter. Foliar sprays, he says the best time is early spring, early summer when photosynthesis is at its peak. And so it's just good information like that. And he's got information about his homegrown national park, which is about having more native plants and
Hmm.
ecosystems in your uh, yard.
Yep.
Um, and then like the whole oak section, if you're going to plant an oak, you probably should read that first. I probably should have read that first, but that's okay.
I've read his
Um,
stuff about oaks in other books, and I'm sure it's similar.
yeah. And
You
here's a
should have
question.
oak trees is basically it's you should have oak trees because oak trees support more types of insects than any other tree, if I remember right.
Well, he's got, and the questions, like he's got, should I cut Virginia creeper off my trees?
I bet he said no.
He did. He said no with an exclamation point, D.
Hmm. Yeah,
He
why
said
did
it,
he say no?
he said it's a wonderful native plant. It can climb trees without girdling them and is lightweight, so it does not pull them down. It's a great pollinator plant. Flowers are
Uh-huh.
small and inconspicuous. When it's in flower, there are clouds of native bees that it attracts, etc.
Right.
And then
It's
here,
also a host plant for several
oh yeah,
for moths or
yeah,
something.
it's got
Yeah.
a nice picture. Another question is, remember when we talked about the guy in the Southwest who has the goats?
Uh-huh.
He says,
Yep.
"Is goat management of undesired vegetation advisable?" He says, "There's nothing wrong with goat control of invasives, except that it is expensive and works only temporarily. Goats will eat everything back to the roots, including desirable natives, but they do not
Yep.
kill the roots. So when the goats leave, the invasives roar back. One could argue that they are good for opening an invaded area so that you can easily gain access and actually kill invasive rootstocks, but goats will not permanently take away invasive plants."
Right. Right.
So anyway, it's just question after question after question. And I found it very interesting. And I actually, look, somebody got this as a library book and they wrote on it and checked something. Huh.
Whoops.
I'm probably going to get this book, D, because it
I
is,
think I need
it,
to own that book because
yes, yes,
um I'm very interested. Well, I've heard him speak twice. I think he just recently came to Oklahoma again. The Native Plant Society really loves him. He just has some really, really good information. I want to say one more thing about Virginia creeper that I was trying to look up what it's the larval host plant of, but I didn't
yeah,
find it yet. But it goes back to there's that rhyme that you can use to distinguish it from poison ivy, right? Which I've
right,
always heard the beginning, which is leaves of three, let it be. The other half of the rhyme is leaves of five, let it thrive.
exactly. And
And so that's a good thing to learn.
when I find native Virginia winter creeper seedlings in my garden, they're never in
Hmm.
the right spot. And I thought, you know what? I should transplant some of those over by like the honey locust, or there's another maple tree. I should transplant some of that Virginia creeper and let it climb up the tree. I think I should
Okay,
do that.
so I think you should. I mean, it just grows out here naturally, and I pull it from places I don't want it, but at my trees, it's just fine. So it is the larval host plant for several species of sphinx moths. And it also has fruit in the winter, which helps, ready? Chickadees, nuthatches, mockingbirds, catbirds, finches, flycatchers, tanagers, swallows, vireos, warblers, woodpeckers, and thrushes. So it's quite beneficial.
Yes. So anyway,
So there you go.
this is quite the book. How Can I Help Saving Nature with Your Yard by Doug Tallamy. I This is going to end up going back to the library, but Carol is going to get herself a copy of it.
I think I'm going to buy a copy because easily you can look stuff up in it. And that's
Well,
what I
you can
use
just,
books for.
you can just spend an evening just randomly looking at questions. And just like right now, I've got this great idea to get Virginia Creeper to grow up some of my trees.
There
Because
you go.
in my serviceberry, there's a um, clematis that climbed up the serviceberry, which was kind of cool. But it's like so
Mhm.
much the better if it was Virginia Creeper. Onward to the next quote.
Or you could also do coral honeysuckle. That's another great one to grow up inside your trees. All right, the next quote. The mullein had finished blooming and stood up out of the pastures like dusty candelabra. The flowers of Queen Anne's lace had curled up into birds' nests, and the bee balm was covered with little crown-shaped pods. In another month, no, 2 maybe, would come the season of the skeletons, when all that was left of the weeds was their brittle architecture. But the time was not yet. The air was warm and bright, the grass was green, and the leaves and the lazy monarch butterflies were everywhere. Elizabeth Enright. And I found that on Goodreads, but I want to read Elizabeth Enright's book because that is so beautifully written.
It is. It is. We'll have to look up and see what that book is after the podcast. I'm going to make a note.
Okay. Next, what are we doing next?
We're doing dirt. We have 2 pieces of dirt.
Okay.
Your piece first.
My piece first is
They found Lone Star ticks on Martha's Vineyard. It's a big deal out there.
it's a big deal everywhere. And so someone on, I think it was on the Ozarks page, because I follow the Ozarks group because my family's all from the Ozarks, and the Ozarks is in Missouri and Arkansas and further. Anyway, the Ozarks got hit hard by Lone Star ticks, and somebody wrote in and said, how interesting that now suddenly, when Lone Star ticks and alpha gal syndrome is a problem on one of the richest part of the United States, suddenly we get attention. And I laughed out loud and read it to
Yes.
Bill. So just something to think about. There is a new map. I'll probably put it in our newsletter this week. And it's a brand new map with data from the Lone Star tick up through 2024. And boy, has that puppy spread. So
And
protect
yeah,
yourselves.
this article was in the New York Times.
It was extremely well written, I have to say. And their expert that they used, the tick expert, he's the most famous good. I mean, the sources were good. It was really good. But I also laughed because the same article was put up later, shows this beautiful girl standing up against, a structure, and she says, I didn't ever eat much meat, but losing dairy was tragic. That's her quote. And I
Yeah.
thought, no, having your whole dang life change is tragic. So
Yes.
there you go. So now let's do your dirt because it's more fun.
My dirt is very fun. So turns out someone has set a record this summer for the world's tallest sunflower and has grown right up there in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And we'll put a link. The guy named it Clover,
Yeah,
oddly
it's
enough.
huge,
It's huge.
huge.
It's got big scaffolding around it. And the city has even like brought out a big lift thing so they could get up there to measure it. And it's been on the news and it's getting worldwide attention. This sucker is tall. It's over, I think the previous record was 30 feet 1 inch, and this one was 30 feet 7. But then I thought I read somewhere where it had gone up to 34 inches or feet. And I'm like, anyway, it's 6
That's
inches taller than the
amazing.
record for sure.
That's amazing.
So, and like the guy says, no, everybody cannot come out to my house to see Clover, you know. But here's pictures. We'll put a link and
So
I'll
I
do a
think it's
quote.
very cool.
It is. Here's the quote. Mandy tidied the weeds and pulled out some of the summer flowers. It saddened her to do so. She was parting with beloved friends. And that is Julie Andrews Edwards in the book called Mandy. Nice.
So rabbit holes. My rabbit hole is one probably other people have really gone down before.
I've been down this rabbit hole. Yes.
I loved watching this. So it's Vivian Mayer, and Vivian Mayer was a nanny. And there's a documentary about her because she went around and did street photography for decades in Chicago and sometimes in New York City. And she would also went all over the world. She traveled all over the place. But it's her Chicago work that people are really impressed by. And it's such a great mystery story because this young man who was kind of a antiquer bought some he bought a box and it turned out to have all these pictures in it and a bunch of film that hadn't been developed. And once
Exactly.
he realized that nobody knew who she was, he went around and bought other people's boxes too because she was a pack rat. She was a pack rat so much. But my most in the documentary, my favorite part of the whole thing is that he interviewed all these different people, and
Uh-huh.
people kept saying that she had a fake French accent, but she really didn't because her family was from Alsace and she had been raised there for a while. And so she had kind of a, I would call it an Americanized French accent.
She did not attempt to lose her French accent at all.
Exactly. I mean, her mother probably,
Well,
influenced that.
and she worked as a nanny and she had famous clients like Phil Donahue, which people that are younger like Phil who? He was a
Yeah,
famous talk show host in Chicago for decades, well, not decades, but for a long time.
forever. Yeah, I grew up watching him. And so I just thought that was such is it was so much fun. What a fun
Yes,
rabbit hole. And
that
those
was fun.
pictures are so beautiful because they document life in the streets for several decades. So historians are very excited. People buy her work and hang it on their walls. And this young man had to get some money to develop all this old film. He learned how to develop the black and white stuff himself.
Right.
Really,
And there,
chemicals. This is
you
something
got a
else.
link to a documentary on YouTube that we'll put for people if they want to go down that rabbit hole.
It's a fun one. Now tell us yours.
So I had a new lost lady of garden writing this past week, Edna King Mandeville, and her family owned a seed distribution house. They distributed
Yep.
to retail. And the interesting thing about her is at a time when women were not in charge of the business, she was in charge of the business. She became the president and then the chairman of the board. But anyway, I was reading articles that she
She
wrote,
was
and
wild.
she wrote thousands of articles. I swear, thousands, at least high hundreds. Our
Yeah, but she's known for
newspapers.
something in particular. And when you
Well,
told me what it was, I was like, oh, good Lord.
I don't think she's known for it, but she wrote an article about it, and I had never really heard of this, and that's atomic gardening,
Yeah.
where after World War II, especially, although they were doing some stuff pre-World War II, they would expose plants to radiation. And
Yep.
it says atomic gardening is a form of mutation breeding where plants are exposed to radiation. Some of the mutations produced thereby have turned out to be useful. Typically, this is gamma radiation, in which case it is gamma garden produced by cobalt 60. And so, what they would do is they would have this big radiation thing that would come up out of the center and they would plant all around it. And then, when the radiation was like going woo, 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 of course, the place would be closed off to people. And then they would lower it back down into the vault. And then the plants closest to the radiation, forget about them. They're toast. But the further out they get, they would find these interesting variations. And
Sure.
so um, your peppermint that's used for flavoring anything peppermint is a
Hmm.
mutation from these experiments.
Hmm.
And they said 75% of the grapefruit grown in Texas is a mutation from these experiments. Plus,
Weren't these dangerous?
well, what they said was the seeds and plants were not radioactive after they were mutated.
But I'm talking about the moment of mutation.
Well, they weren't
I
allowed into
guess
the field while the thing is going woo 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 and radiating the plants.
I
But
guess not.
but the seeds and things weren't radioactive. And to get back to Edna King, in
Yes.
the I think in the 50s and early 60s, you could buy radiated garden seeds that had
Huh.
been radiated. And so they were not themselves radioactive, but
Yep.
you could buy them. I don't think they were, no, they weren't. And you could plant them. And then what they wanted to do was like disperse these seeds to all these home gardeners. And she said, keep them all separate. And then, if anything interesting comes up, you can let people know. So, anyway,
That reminds me
I
of
don't think they do
colchicine.
this. They don't do this anymore much. There,
No.
there was a one article that said they still was a place in Japan where they were doing this, but um, yeah. And there was one where
Yeah.
there was a guy down in Tennessee, a dentist, and he had his home radiation thing where he could radiate plants at home. I'm like, that
Okay.
sounds dangerous.
Yeah, that's amazing. So they did a chemical version of that today, Lilies. It's colchicine, and it's kind of dangerous. And there were a whole bunch of hybridizers in about the same time period who were doing this, and that's how they turned them from diploids to tetraploids.
Ah. So
It's
Edna
called
lived to,
ploidy.
at first I thought, Edna, don't mess with these radiated seeds. But anyway, she lived to be 86 and
She's okay.
she wrote some of these articles. She was well into her 80s and she was still writing these articles. So fascinating woman. And I found out about atomic gardening. There you
That
go.
is cool. Who knew? I knew
Who knew?
nothing about that.
I did not either.
So,
They never mentioned it in college, like, hey, by the way.
huh,
I would
I
have thought
wonder
they would
why.
have. Or if I, maybe they did and I didn't. It just went whoosh over my
Maybe you
head.
just didn't listen to that particular lesson, but
I
I
would have
doubt it.
perked up.
I doubt it. I think you'd have perked right up. So, garden commissions, mine's easy. It's supposed to rain here all week long. We'll see. So, I'll just wait. That's really odd for August.
Well, here it's supposed to be cool and dry for the last week of August. I even saw a low of 49 degrees forecasted for Tuesday. Now, it might be different if I look now, but and high in the 70s. So I feel like this is a week when I can get a lot of stuff done outside. Gonna get my mums
Hmm.
planted, gonna get my cool away pansies planted, mow, weed, water, probably turn the sprinklers back on the lawn, the usual stuff. So yeah, it's different.
Different this year. So, it's our We Do Not Care section, and I did it last week, so you do it.
We do not care if you do not garden like we garden. We just want you to enjoy your garden, and we will be over here enjoying our gardens.
All right, let's wrap it up.
Thank you for listening to The Garden Angelus. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single episode. We publish every week on Wednesdays at 12 a.m. Eastern Time.
If you subscribe to our free newsletter, which we do on Substack, you get a link to listen to the podcast a day early and links to the products we discuss. Some of these are affiliate links, which are on their own page now. Plus, go over to YouTube and you can see us in person and see how messy my hair is and the beautiful green shirt that Carol did not give to me for my birthday. Full episodes show up on Tuesday.
And if you want to help support us, use our affiliate links. If you buy something after clicking through on them, we're in a small commission and it costs you nothing.
Or if you want to set up a monthly subscription through Buzzsprout or make a one-time donation through PayPal, it won't hurt our feelings.
Thank you to everyone who has done so. It helps us pay for podcast hosting.
It was lovely to chat with all of you over the garden gate. Bye until next week.
Bye, everybody.